Hello and welcome. Welcome to our online series, Spiritual Technologies that Awaken You to Your Life's Purpose. My name is Aaron Glassman, and we are sitting today with the amazing Vanessa Petronelli. Vanessa is a coach. She is a channel. She uses incredible, unique modalities to serve her clients, to take them to a whole other level and experience of themselves and the lives that they want to create in the world. She has so many tools and gifts. You can read about her full bio here right below the interview, as well as a click link to her website. But Vanessa, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to be talking to you. We share so many things in the way in which we facilitate, coach people, and utilizing the intuitive wisdom and channeling as well. So it's a joy and a blessing to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a joy and blessing for me to be here. You know, I love these conversations. So
Yes, I love it.
I get to talk about this stuff.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. We get to unpack and unravel for all to experience. And what I'd love to start with is I'd love to hear just what do you like in a nutshell, what's going on the planet right now? What's energetically, vibrationally, what's happening on the planet that is maybe having such a strong effect on people's lives?
Well, I mean, I think it's obvious we're definitely going through a massive shift and awakening. I mean, different levels of consciousness, people who've been on more of that personal and spiritual path of mastery and development are, entering new dimensions of consciousness, and then we still have people stuck at like this very three-dimensional type plane where they're really stuck in the old stuff. So, I mean, we're seeing so many varieties of development and consciousness right now. And, the vibration, the energy, the Schumann resonance, and, in the earth, everything's picking up. We're having all these solar flare events, happening in our galaxy, in the universe. I mean, things are picking up, and to keep it real simple, there's so much more light coming in and illuminating the shadows in the planet, which is exactly what we need. So that's why I believe we're seeing so many different, in the mainstream as well, so many different stories week after week of things coming to the surface, and all of a sudden there's like almost like a cognitive dissonance of, wow, like, how is this possible? I didn't think that this person could be involved in this and that, and lots of controversial stories, because the truth always has a way of coming up, and the truth has a different sort of frequency. So we're seeing the old paradigm matrix, as I call it, these power structures of where we've been in a lot of wounding and fear and separation, and in a lower vibration and consciousness level, suddenly the light is shining like a big spotlight, and the truth is popping up. And at the same time, this is creating the perfect opportunity for the masses to get into this personal empowerment, to find and seek their power, and to start stepping into their own inner authority. So I'm seeing that this is like a theme. I've been getting it for months from, when I've been channeling, and just seeing the way my work has been going, the kinds of sessions and clients that are coming to me. I'm kind of sitting there like, wow, there's a lot of overlap here. I've never seen so many people come and talk about the same topic. Am I just attracting it because that's what I'm teaching right now? Or is there more to this? And the sense that I'm getting from a very deep intuitive place is 2020 is the year of personal power and empowerment, and really getting clear on what that is to create the new paradigm that we are moving into.
Wow. Wow. Yes. Well, I want to give our audience a little bit of a background as to how you infuse and integrate, your channeling with your coaching and your own personal intuition to serve all the different leaders and speakers that you support. How do you weave that in, and what exactly are you channeling, and what is channeling?
Yeah, these are all big questions.
Yeah.
Well, I believe, I'll start off with this. I've been interviewed about this a lot. in the last few years. Everybody has this curiosity, it seems like, when they meet me, what exactly is channeling? I've never heard of this before. I believe that we're all channels to a certain degree, but I believe that, people like myself or yourself have the ability to channel in higher levels of consciousness and are able to stream this through in a very clear and dynamic way. Other people might be channels with art. Actors are channels of characters, and maybe people who lived on the planet many years ago. So we all have the ability to channel when we're in a alpha or a theta state. When we're deeply focused in our work or our writing, or we're on a project, working on a project that we are really present with, and everything is just flowing. We're channeling. When we're sitting with a friend and all of a sudden all this advice comes through and our friend stares at us and said, that doesn't sound like you. I've never heard you say something like that before. That's channeling. So we have the ability to tap into other dimensions and other realms of consciousness and to bring this guidance through. Some people will say, you're channeling your higher self, your soul. Other people are channeling beings. So I happen to be able to do both. And it feels different. It sounds different. It is different. I channel the Pleiadian guides, which are a trio of non-physical beings from the Pleiadian system, the Pleiades. And they come through and they're basically advisors. That's how I, describe them. They're not here to be gods. They're not here to be worshipped or prayed to. They're simply advisors that are here with a vested interest in helping us to evolve and transcend the limitations that we've been stuck in for thousands of years on this planet. And their vested interest is supposedly in helping to advance their civilizations and their planet as well. So we're all connected in the universe and universes. And so just because we're going through this shift on this planet doesn't mean that there's other planets and galaxies, especially if you believe in this stuff, right? Like, they're getting impacted by our shift as well.
Right.
So these beings come through, they give advice, personal advice on how to break free and break through your limitations. And I always tell my clients and audiences who receive this, take it or leave it. Your truth is your truth. And the Pleiadians always say that. Your truth overrides anybody else's truth. You just got to get clear on what that is for you. On the other hand, the channeling, so I do the channeling work. I'm in a trance-channeled state. My eyes are closed. My voice changes a little bit. It just streams through. I'm not thinking. I'm not, trying to decipher the language or anything like that. It's coming through as the words are coming through me right in this moment in our time together. And, I'm basically, my personality is pushed to the back of my being, my body. And the Pleiadians come through, they share a transmission, which is a vibrational message. And so they'll be speaking in English, but what's more profound is the frequency at which it's being channeled at. And that is actually more powerful, I think, than even just hearing the words, because words are limited and they're using my consciousness. So
Right.
if I don't have an extensive vocabulary, then it's going to be limiting. But frequency goes beyond the human mind and language barrier, right? It can just permeate right through and start to energetically and vibrationally, like a tuning fork, start to move things out and into alignment. And that's how we really describe what the Pleiadian guides do. They're like a tuning fork and an activator to help you to get more precise and become more impeccable to your inner integrity, your authenticity, and your personal power.
Well, see, so that to me is like everything. And when we are able to access that for ourselves, not necessarily as a channel for the Pleiadians, but to access this ability to connect to that vibrational frequency, right? That connects us to our power, then we can create in alignment with the planet shifting, right? With the planet's paradigm shift that's happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the piece that really has to happen is human beings need to take greater responsibility for themselves. And we need to get out of this victim and oppressor or predator, the victimizer type of mentalities. We have to, in order to find our power, we have to start to shift away and out of being a victim.
How does one do that?
Well, it takes work.
Right?
It definitely takes work, but it's starting to understand, the reason why we're here as human beings. And we're here to evolve, and we're here to grow. We're here to transcend our limitations. So any challenging, difficult, experience we've had, or painful experience that we've had, there's an opportunity, once we've done some of the healing, once we've done the grieving, once we've done the work, to be able to start moving beyond those limitations, which, being a victim, has a certain frequency. It keeps you stuck at a certain level within yourself, and thought process, and how you're perceiving and seeing the world. So you can't be in your power if you're giving your power away to a situation, or a person, or a memory, or an experience. So finding our power, first and foremost, especially for anybody who's experienced some form of, difficulty, challenge, pain, trauma, which is pretty much anybody on the planet, right? Everybody has experienced all kinds of, awful and horrible events in their lives, to varying degrees, of course. But the first, step in my work is really to get to this place of choosing to no longer be a victim. You see, when we make a choice, when we make a stand, that is our first ability of saying, I'm choosing something different. And when we choose, not to just choose from the mind, but from our heart, from our body. And when we can connect to that and say, hey, I'm done with the story. I'm done, feeling like a victim. I'm done blaming. I'm done not taking responsibility, and really allowing myself to evolve and grow from this experience. When that happens, something energetically, like a gear, starts to turn, where more becomes possible. It's like, oh, well, what's the next step after that choice? Maybe a teacher comes in, or a healer, or a therapist, or, a practitioner, or, a human being comes in that illuminates something, or a book, or seminar. We start to open up to our universe, not just the universe, but our own personal universe, just to support our evolution, to support our growth beyond the consciousness of being a victim. Make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It really is. Well, it really is like step one in wanting to create something completely new in your life, is shifting our perspective. Yeah. They say once you shift your perspective, miracles take place.
Exactly. And that's the thing, even in my work, I'm sure you feel this with yours, we can't help any clients if they're choosing to not shift their perspective. Nobody, it doesn't matter how many channeling sessions someone goes to, or how many times they get coached, or they have great advice, or they read something really profound in a book. If you're not willing to change and to shift your perspective, whatever that may be, then you're not going to allow yourself to be open to the miracles, to the guidance, to the next step of really being able to grow beyond where you've been.
Absolutely. We did a whole series, and all of these leaders and people who had massive transformations and stories of stepping into their power, they always were coming back to just take the step that's in front of you.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to get yourself 10 steps ahead, take the step that's in front of you and watch what continually opens up. Like, that's the process of, you make the commitment, you take the first step, and then this door opens to the next step, and the door opens to the next step, right? And the first step really is self-responsibility for your life.
Totally. And I mean, you were asking before about the weaving of all these gifts. Well, they get woven so naturally when the person or the people I'm sitting with are saying, yes, I'm ready for the change and I'm open. I don't have to shift from one thing to the next. It's like, I can just be with that person, and what needs to be channeled through or transmitted will come through to support them in their readiness and their availability to receive the next level or next, stage of guidance or steps to continue to grow.
Yes.
So, it all kind of becomes one. I mean, for me with my work and the work that I do, I call it coaching and all this, but really it's really my own body of work. It's really about being present with somebody and saying yes to the gifts that I have to share, and them coming through in a way that is present to what the client needs in that moment, and also making it grounded and practical. And I mean, I've been doing it for 11 years now, so
Right.
I found the method and the ways to bring all of these gifts together to help a client not only get greater access to their universe, to their I am presence, to their, source, but to also not just transcend it and leave the body, but to bring it down and integrate it into their lives so that they can be in this world, in the matrix, so to speak, and be able to practically make change in their own lives. And of course, that change will affect other people in their lives and the world around them.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's the nature of this series, really, is the unification of spiritual laws and scientific principles coming together as one, is bringing above and below together, right? That the science is the more material, more world view approach towards awakening and discovering, and merging and marrying it with the unknown, the mystery, the channeled self, the higher self, spirit, God, whatever you wish to call it. And when we have that totality of awareness, wow, then we have like this expansion, this heart opening that is giving us the power to create in new ways we've never been able to experience in our life.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
I love that you bring all these levels of your work, because there's a lot of channels out there that just will give advice or whatever, but you create these practical applicable steps and processes for people to move through. Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have that in place, then it's just, to me, it's just fluff.
Right.
I'm not in the business to deliver fluff to my clients where, I appease their ego and then they go out of the session and they're like, well, what do I do now? What's next? And I see that I think the gap that we've seen between, science and spirituality, and even people who are not even into science or spirituality, but don't find access, is that, it's not practical. It's not grounded. It's very out here, and we don't have time for out here anymore. The next level of spirituality and in our development as human beings is to really get this, multidimensional self back online, to open up that access to where we're from, where we'll return from, everything that makes us in the universe it, right? And be able to also bring that guidance and that multidimensional self here. If you cannot ground spirituality, then what's the point of it? We're not here to be meditating all day. We're not here to be in prayer all day. We're not here to be chanting all day or doing psychic readings or cuddling all day. Like this whole oneness movement and unity, like, it doesn't work because it's not applicable to what's happening right now in the world. Once our consciousness maybe has evolved, then it could be. But right now, we have to be able to take all this wisdom, all of our gifts, the fullness of who we are, the wholeness of who we are, and be able to bring it down into the earth to help people. It's time to pull our bootstraps up and stop saying, I just want to escape being human. Start saying, I came here to be human, and I'm going to fully experience my potentiality and go out there and do the work, be in the mission that I'm here to be in, and start making some change instead of sitting around and talking about it with other people who are spiritual or scientific. It's like, now's the time for us to really, when I say power, be in our power. The power is all of it.
Yes.
It's all of it. It's the earth, and it's the science, and it's the cosmic, and it's the heavens, and it's being that bridge. Like, that's what I describe myself as, the bridge between the cosmic realm and the earth plane, and being able to transmit the higher guidance into a very practical and accessible form for clients or people I'm talking to be able to implement this into their daily lives. Because without it, it's just, again, fluff.
Yeah. So what would be some practical, applicable steps for people to experience, for them to tap into their multidimensional self? And when we speak about multidimensional self, all energy operates on multiple levels. All energy operates at different frequencies simultaneously, correct? And we're not different. So how, in your opinion, do people connect to that multidimensional dimensional self that gives them access
Right.
to this oneness?
Well, I mean, I think for starters, my experience of working with so many people, a couple things start to happen. There's either a forced awakening and turning on of that multidimensional self through a spiritual awakening. You know, a sudden event or experience where all of a sudden they're seeing and experiencing things, energy, seeing energy, feeling things that they've never felt before, seeing things they've never seen. They're having a strong desire or inclination to become more quote unquote spiritual. You know, so I've seen that happen as being the gateway to, you know, the soul saying, okay, it's time, enough playing in this 3D plane. You're gonna get, you know, your multidimensional self turned back on so that you can start to access all of this higher wisdom and, you know, integrate it into your lives. And then there's also people who have not had that experience and actually get the choice. And I think in choosing, we have to be able to say, I'm ready to devote and commit myself to really experiencing the other aspects that make me human, but are also what make me a soul or spiritual being having this human experience. And when that choice is made, you know, we have to be very deliberate about what we're doing, how we're spending time with ourselves. And one of the fastest ways, I think, truly to turning your intuition on, you know, to connecting to yourself, to starting to get more access is first and foremost, you have to get present and you have to be still. I know it's so basic. You know, I know maybe some people who are listening are like, I know that already, but really the practice of being present it's a lot more challenging than we believe or think it is. You know, it really requires due diligence to be able to get to this place of being so present as we're going through the day and deliberately watching our minds. You know, the first thing that has to happen is really disciplining our minds and noticing when it starts to go into future, noticing when it's starting to go into the past, noticing when it's going into judgment or criticism. Because when we start to open up self-awareness, we start to get more curious about ourselves. We start to get more curious about why we operate the way we do. But in order to increase self-awareness and perception, right, our extrasensory perception or just perception of our own belief systems and how we operate and behave, we have to be present enough to get that level of awareness and that almost like that tuning in, like a radio dial tuning into the present moment. And that takes concerted effort, which is why sometimes mindset work can be a really powerful initial tool. I mean, it's always a powerful tool, but it's a good entry point sometimes for people who are not into the spiritual work yet, who are not, you know, into metaphysics and, you know, channeling and aliens and this or that. You know, it's a very easy initial step in of saying, okay, I'm curious about how I can, you know, discipline my mind. Maybe even a mindfulness practice can be a good entry point. But the initial thing is all about connecting to yourself.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
have to be deliberate about it. And connecting to yourself is not, you know, sitting on YouTube and just watching spiritual teachers talk or, you know, playing on your phone or, you know, even reading a book. So the connecting to yourself really requires you to be still and to listen.
Absolutely. Presence. When people ask me what presence is, say it's connect to the breathing, connect to the breath. And when we breathe, which is the most basic element of being human, because it's the thing that we can not survive for the shortest amount of time with, right? We can survive without food and water for a few days, but breath, no.
Right.
And connecting to the breathing will bring about a deep breathing, will bring about a presence, a connection to your environment, what's in front of you, what's around you. And then you practice it, it expands, it expands and expands.
Exactly. And I think, you know, when we talk about something as simple as this, Aaron, I think the importance of it is, you know, when people have major spiritual awakenings that just kind of come abruptly out of nowhere, it can really wreak havoc on their nervous system. So one of the fastest ways of getting, you know, connected to subtle energies, to, you know, these different frequencies, to the multidimensional self is we have to expand the capacity of the nervous system. And we tend to forget about that. And that's in our bodies, right? Like our bodies are the vessel and the vehicle, the antenna to the opening. But if our bodies are overwhelmed with, lower frequencies, we're not eating well, we're not taking care of our nervous system, we're always in fight or flight, we're constantly stressed, we're always, focusing on stuff that's going on out here, we are not taking care of our health, we're not moving energy, then forget it. Your satellite of your body, your antenna is clogged and there's not enough energy to move through it. So, that's why it's actually one of the most accessible things is to focus on more of the physical level sometimes, and to work on the physical body, to work on the nervous system, to work on the mind and changing the way the neural pathways are developed in the brain, and start looking at your limiting beliefs and, the aspects that make you in your personality you, and just start examining those things, because it's like you're preparing your system to open. I would never recommend somebody going through, what I went through when my trance channel opened. It was horrific. It was hard. It was painful, and even with many, many years of, spiritual development and training and connection and, healing work, all the stuff that I've been doing for a long time, the access I've had, that totally threw my nervous system and my whole body into, a really, really frenzied and it was a really challenging time for me when I was developing my body to now hold frequencies that were not from here, that were not, my body was not used to holding. So, I think for people who are listening, depending on where they are in their journeys, it's like, it's okay to take small steps. I think not having the expectation that the moment you sit on a meditation cushion, that your channel is going to be blasted open and your multidimensional self is going to come online and all of a sudden you're, intuitive and you're getting all these insights. I mean, when you remove the expectation and the attachment and you literally just look at this, well, I'm choosing to know more of who I am, like all aspects of who I am. And I'm going to prepare my body, my mind, my vessel, my energy field to receive that, to be in that frequency. I'm going to take the steps to really start to prepare myself to be open to more and more and more. And we never get more than we can really handle. That's
Right.
the truth.
Setting that intention.
Yeah.
I'm open and receptive to receive more of who I am in a way that I can handle and ground and understand, so you don't get blown out. Yeah, my process was it took definitely several months, and it was a lot of just sounds coming out and sweating and spitting, and like it was very it was wild. It was a wild experience, and not everyone's opening looks like that, for sure.
Right.
Like you said. But yeah, it's the same thing, and it's an old metaphor, but it's really true. It's like a seed needs to be still in order for it to begin its growth. So stillness, the breath, getting clear on an intention, are all great ways to begin to access that multidimensional I am presence, that powerful part of yourself that's not separated from anyone or anything.
Agreed. I mean, the second piece that I would add in there too is getting support. Work with somebody who has high level of integrity and has walked this path.
Yes.
Because when we start to turn these aspects and parts of ourselves on, it's my experience of hearing from so many people over the years is they think that they're losing it, like, I don't know what's happening to me. I think I'm going crazy. I'm seeing and feeling things I've never experienced before. I don't know what's happening to me. I feel like I don't know who I am anymore. My identity is completely shattered. My life feels like it's falling apart. Get support. It's something that if you are really ready and desiring to walk this path, you're going to need to find a mentor or a guide who can really walk beside you and support you in your journey and in this unfoldment of more of this energy and more of your access being turned on and coming through you.
Yes. Well, that's the benefit of all of the people like yourself that have had these experiences and have already walked this journey, like you said, 11 years, you've been doing this work for 11 years, but your actual channeling started when you were 14 or something, I believe, right?
Yeah, when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that we're all being called, because my initial tendency was to go to the mountaintop, you know, and stay up there, and then life brings you down. Did you have that like disconnect desire ever
Oh,
to?
I've had that.
Yeah,
Yes. To
right?
like, I wish I could just leave and go and be a monk somewhere. But, you know, my path was interesting because, you know, being very intuitive as a kid and then having my first channeling experience where I heard the voice of, you know, what I interpreted as God speak to me, it was actually to immerse myself in the world. And I've come to learn in my journey that I'm not meant to leave and go, you know, and find out what's happening on all these other galaxies and places. I'm meant to be here. My gifts are meant to be shared here. And I went into the entertainment industry for 10 years, singing, acting, modeling. You know, I was an entrepreneur at 2021. I was immersed in what we would define as the Maya, the Matrix. Like, I was in it. And, you know, I had to sort of push some of those gifts down for a little while. And then naturally it was like I was guided as you know, in my late teens, early 20s, to get back onto this journey in a way I hadn't. And that's when I was led to, you know, the law of attraction and, you know, the power of positive thinking and, you know, Louise Hay's, like the self-love movement, you know, all this kind of work. Had my first coach at 23. And, you know, periodically this voice of God would come in through these very critical transitions in my life to set me on a different trajectory, which ultimately led to me leaving that industry and, you know, leaving behind my first business in marketing and events, and then opening this business, going back to school, getting a post-grad and opening this business and doing this work, you know, doing this coaching, transformational work, trans-channeling work, you know, with my clients. And so, you know, it's been a really interesting journey to be on. But I was never allowed to, I like to say I'm on a short leash with spirit. Like, I can't go very far. So even if I wanted to go to the mountaintop and like try to escape, you know,
Right.
everything that was going on, if it wasn't a part of my divine plan, it wouldn't happen. So it's been very down to the T for me in terms of where I am located, what I'm doing, who I'm doing it with, etc.
Right. Yeah, because didn't you have the like you got the message to go into the entertainment industry, right?
Yep.
So why do you think that was such an important part of your journey to
Well,
experience that?
you know, those 10 years, I really believed from the guidance that I had received that I was going to be famous, become famous, be an actress, you know, in LA. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I was going to come to LA and I was going to be this, you know, world-renowned actress, being involved in projects that I chose to be involved in that would help to illuminate and enlighten people. You know, it was meant to be a
Sounds
platform.
familiar. What's
Yeah.
that?
It was meant to be a platform, you know, for me to have my voice heard and
Yes.
for me to share my wisdom, right? So, you know, the further along I was in that industry, you know, I was set to come to LA, and that's when I got a virus all over my face that stopped me from going. So that's how I actually knew that I was not meant to go there.
Wow.
And it was just about 2 weeks before I was set out to go. Then I left the industry, and to be perfectly honest, I had no idea why the heck I was in that industry for so long. I was like, what? I left the industry. I let go of my dream of moving to California, you know, in my mid-20s. I had this business. I was working with people in person in Toronto, you know, in my office. And I thought to myself, well, maybe, you know, that was a pipe dream. I don't know. Like, I heard these voices. They told me to go and do this. And I got these instructions, but nothing panned out. And I have no idea why.
Right.
So about 6 years ago, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, I was in my office working with a client, and I got a very strong message that came through that I was complete with that part of my journey, and I was going to be moving to California, and I would be taking my work into Hollywood. I'd be taking my work into Hollywood and working with people in the industry to help basically, you know, help them to get aligned and awaken, because once they're in this higher frequency, once they're in their power, once they're, these clear channels themselves with this stronger connection, they're going to influence the masses much faster. And so, the message was very clear to me. It was like, wow, like this feels right. It feels true. Okay, lead the way. And, my husband's American and we got married. So we live in California now, and Southern California. I work with, celebrities in Hollywood now and, have been having a lot more publicity and press on this, the work, my body of work. So it's interesting to see how it's come, full circle.
Right.
And all that guidance has really been 100% correct and accurate every step.
Absolutely. So I brought it up because we pay attention to the intuition and the impulse, but we don't always know exactly in the big picture and scheme of things of how this is all coming together. Because it was the same thing for me. I had been a musician all my life. I'd been studying music. I had band, and I heard an intuitive voice saying, go into acting. But acting led me to California, and California was kind of the environment that allowed me to have an awakening. And I needed to get away from that East Coast family, like all of those things. So it didn't make sense. And I think for our listeners, like just to trust, really trust that body intelligence, that intuitive intelligence, rather over the logical, the reason part of ourself, and to know there's a bigger connection point here for us to experience. And I love that you said yes both times. Like, okay, you said, yeah, okay, I'm available. I'm available.
And I think that's the key too, for people like ourselves and who the people who are listening, you have to be available for that. And
yeah.
When you make yourself, a vessel for spirit, for source, for God to move through you, you start to remove a lot of your willpower out of the way, and you start to co-create with, this energy to create your life, rather than you thinking it has to look a certain way and it has to work out this way. And I think the trust is a muscle that has to be flexed over and over and over and over again on this journey. It never, ever goes away. And it just deepens and strengthens and deepens and strengthens over and over again. Because the more you're available, the more open you are, the more you're going to be required to stop letting your mind, your ego, right, control the outcomes and the directions of your life. You start to say, I am open and available to be moved and transformed and available where I'm needed most.
Yes.
Show me, lead me, and I will say yes. And it's scary at times because all of that idea or sense of control starts to just go out the window. You have no control over it. You have to say yes, and you have to trust.
Yes, and I always remind people is like, we never actually ever have had control.
Exactly.
We pretended like we did, but ultimately the universe will definitely remind you that your higher self, that of which you don't get the full picture all the time, is really the one that's really the one that's pulling the strings. These string theories are true, right? Yeah.
It's true.
I love it. I love it. Yes. And the ability to relinquish control and experience surrender and all of that comes through our presencing work, through the stillness.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And it has to be a part of your daily practice and connection to yourself. If you are a yes to that and you've made that declaration, that intention to your universe to support you in that, then you also have to show up to it. And I think that this is sometimes a misconception. Well, I'm asking for the guidance, but it's not coming through. But are you making yourself available and open to receive it? Are you listening for it?
Yes. Beautiful.
Sometimes no.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Well, there's your answer.
Right. Beautiful. Well, I want to honor your time. I know you have a free gift for our audience. Would you like to share what that is and how they'll be able to access it right at the link here?
Yes. Well, I know that money, abundance, finances, it's a topic that comes up over and over again in my work, in the spiritual world, in the world, period. And, I've designed this beautiful guided meditation to help you to amplify your wealth frequency, because your finances, money, abundance, all of that, really has more to do with your frequency than it has to do with what's in your bank account. So if this is an area that you want to develop, that you want to get more in touch with, if this is an area that you've already mastered, I still invite you to my free gift, because it's just going to continue to support you in the wealth frequency that is our divine inheritance. We are all meant to be wealthy, and wealth starts from within and from connecting to ourselves and the abundance of blessings and love that source in our universe has to provide for us. So amplify your wealth frequency, guided meditation, that is your free gift. I hope it helps you and you find it valuable, and enjoy.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Vanessa, you are a one of a kind. Awesome to connect to you and learn how you fuse together all your gifts and your wisdom. And thank you so much for being part of this series. This is exciting. I look forward to connecting again.
Thank you. Me too. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to be here.
Thank you so much. Until next time, I'm going. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.